As a natural artist, part of my practice includes using the abundance of nature in my crafts. And luckily, this time of year, as the wheel turns and summer transforms to fall, there is an abundance of flowers to work with. Flowers can be pressed into notebooks as a log for what bloomed in which season. Today, however, I want to talk about my favorite method for preserving the colors of summer into the depths of winter by making dried bouquets. I grew up in the Northern Hemisphere, where the end of fall and throughout the winter, the dreary weather is punctuated by seasonal celebrations like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve. Now that I live in a temperate climate in South America, we don't have those celebrations to bring in a bit of fun and cheer to the winter months. I celebrate the fall equinox and winter solstice and also my own made-up celebrations in between, until the start of spring, known as Dia de la Pachamama or Pachamama's Day on August 1st, which marks the start of the agricultural season. This day is also the halfway point between the winter solstice in June and the spring equinox in September. One of my made-up traditions is to bring color into the coldest months of the year by keeping natural decor around the house, like wreaths and dry bouquets, which I myself make during the summer and early fall. Making dry floral arrangements is a lot like creating fresh arrangements with a few distinctions. For one, dry bouquets are, of course, dry, and so the foliage included tends to shrink quite a bit. That means that bundling up just a handful of flowers will shrivel up into almost nothing, and the end result is never so impressive as what you started out with. The benefit of a dry bouquet is that it can be kept for months and months, even up to a year, and maintain the color and some of the aroma of the foliage included. In bouquet making, just like in a lot of other artistic endeavors, there is a rule of 3. When we are talking about floral arrangements, the rule of 3 refers to the 3 parts that make up a beautiful bouquet. One part, usually the center of the bouquet, is made up of the eye-catching flowers. The second part are the supporting flowers that surround it. And the third part is the foliage that makes up the bulk and structure of the bouquet and kind of creates a frame from which to appreciate the beauty of the flowers at the center. And like with fresh bouquet making, it is always easier to start out with the structural part and fill in from there. As an herbalist, I tend to use mostly herbs in my dry bouquets. So, for the foliage aspect, I really like to use rosemary, which has woody stems that create structure for the bouquet. I also like to use mint, catnip, eucalyptus, and flowering oregano, as strange as that sounds. I promise, flowering oregano is really pretty. And then there are the supporting flowers. Yarrow is my personal favorite for this. The stems are long and strong, and the dainty white flowers are so cute. Other options could be dry grasses or long sprigs of flowering mint or rosemary if either of those weren't included in the foliage segment. There is one thing to note when making dry bouquets that doesn't really apply to fresh ones. Not all flowers maintain their color when dry, and some go to seed even when cut during their flowering period. This is simply a thing of trial and error. Sometimes I've included native flowers that looked really nice when fresh, but when dried lost their color, or all the petals fell off. This was the case with lantana, so I don't include them in bouquets anymore and just appreciate the beauty of their flowers on the plant. Along the roadsides, there is one particular flower called siempre viva, which translates to always alive. The scientific name is Gomphrenia bucella, and they got their colloquial name because once dried, they maintain almost the exact color as they had fresh and look really nice as supporting flowers in bouquets. They have really flimsy stems though, so it's important to handle them with care and surround them with structural plants like yarrow or rosemary. Lavender is always nice to add to bouquets too. The flowers are beautiful and dry pretty true to their original color. And most importantly, they smell really nice and let off a calming aroma for months and months. Some types, like English lavender, have strong stems, while these ornamental lavenders are a bit floppy once dried, so I like to surround them with the more woody stem plants. And then the main attraction, the flowers that go in the middle. Think roses, sunflowers, zinnias, strawflower, dried poppy seed heads, or cornflower. When there is a bigger flower like roses, you don't really need any more than 3. If you have a larger sunflower, you really only need 1. Zinnias, on the other hand, shrivel up a lot when dried, so using a handful mixed with a couple other flowers will create a beautiful bouquet. And I want to say now, your bouquet does not need to fit the beauty standards of bouquets you might see online. To me, the goal of this craft is to preserve an example of the flowers I grew in summer. That's all. I'm the one who's going to look at these bouquets more than anyone else. So, when you're gathering up your flowers and setting your bouquet, remember that it's your taste that counts. And also, feel free to experiment. I named a few common herbs and flowers you might want to include in your bouquet, but you're by no means limited to these. There are tons of wild and garden flowers that might look really good in a dry arrangement. Or maybe all the petals will fall off once dried. Go ahead and give it a try and see what works for you. Once the bouquet is pretty much ready, I then wrap it with twine of some kind. Sometimes I use wool yarn or cotton thread, like the kind you can make friendship bracelets with, or a rough natural twine. To me, it's important that this twine is made of a natural material, because when I am done with this bouquet, I will either burn it or put it back into the garden. So no plastic, please. The twine should be wrapped loosely so that the stems have a bit of airflow, otherwise the stems will get rotten or moldy. There will be time to tighten up the twine later on. After the arrangement is wrapped, I either lay it flat to dry or hang it upside down in the shelf. The benefit of hanging bouquets is that they stay round and are good to use as a table decoration in a little vase. The ones that I lay flat will, of course, dry flat and are best hung up on a wall. As the bouquets dry, the stems will shrink a bit and the twine will need tightening. So it's a good idea to just loosely tie the bouquet at first and only make a true knot when the flowers are totally dry. This is such a simple craft and costs almost nothing but time and a bit of twine. I have found that they help me get through the gray and gloomy winter months and make thoughtful gifts for friends' birthdays, seasonal celebrations like winter solstice, Beltane, and of course Mother's Day. It is a really nice way to make a physical memory of the spring, summer, fall, and even winter gardens besides digital photos. I like to place them around the house during winter to remind myself that spring and summer and all the flowers that I love so much will return soon enough. In a world of consumerism where more and more home decor is purchased or made by someone else far away, I hope that this video can inspire you to make your own floral decorations with your very own hands and using the flowers that are most important to you. As always, I wish you happy crafting!